Hello, this is Grant Hughes of Grant Hughes Investigates on YouTube. Please hit that like button, share the video, and subscribe. Today's video is going to be regarding, two different videos maybe, or I'll try to squeeze them in one, but probably two different videos. But this is part one of Savannah Guthrie speaking out on the Today Show on NBC. All right, so we're going to listen to the interview.
Take me back to the day. It was, I guess, a normal weekend for you.
Yeah.
The weekend your mom went missing. Tell me what you were doing and what happened.
I had given Mike for Christmas a boys' trip to go play tennis, and so he had been gone for the weekend. So I took my kids actually to Carson's. Mm-hmm. So we had a beautiful, fun night together, and then I came home. And really, it just got home at the same time that Mike came home. And we were just saying hi, putting down our stuff, and the kids were running around. And my sister called me, and I said, "Is everything okay?" Mm-hmm. And she said, "No." She said, "Mom's missing." And I said, "What?"
Yeah.
It's just weird to think that at that moment, everything was so normal. And that's exactly how that happens. It seems like nobody's ever prepared for crazy news.
"What are you talking about?" She said, "She's gone." And she was in a panic. I was in a panic. I'm like, "Call 911. Yeah. She's like, "I did. We've called them. They're here." And we thought that she must have had like some kind of medical episode in the night, and that somehow, the paramedics had come because the back doors were propped open, and that didn't make any sense. We thought maybe they came and there was a stretcher and they took her out the back. But her phone was there and her purse was there and all her things.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting that they propped the back door open. Now, people are going to probably say, oh, they removed her from the back of the house, but that's virtually impossible since her blood, and there's a blood trail from the front door to where a vehicle would be parked right there in the front. So maybe they had planned for either two, or maybe they were going to remove some items from the back of the house or something. I mean, we don't know. We actually don't know for certain if anything was taken or not from the house, because we haven't heard that information in any of the press conferences. I think they may have mentioned that they didn't notice anything that was taken, but maybe since then they've found that something was taken. But the back door could have been propped open for an easy escape route as well. All right, but we know she was removed from the front of the house because of the droplets go from the front door all the way down the path to where a car would be parked.
And it just didn't make any sense. So, Annie and Tommy had already called all the hospitals, but then I'm like, I'm going to call the hospital. So then I started calling the hospitals, and the police were there and talking to her at the same time, and it was just chaos and disbelief.
Within hours, Savannah was making the long journey home to Tucson.
You saw Annie and Cam when you got to their house.
So I don't know if you guys can see, but right down here, it's one of these two doors was propped open. This one's really close to Nancy's room. Her room is right over here in this area. And then there's a door right here that we just found out a couple days ago. It was right on the left side, right in the kitchen. So that mahjong table that they play at, you can actually see right over to here, and there's a door that goes out to the awning area there.
Tell me about that moment.
Just disbelief and hugging each other. Yeah. And I think we were on the phone with the sheriff and trying to, really make clear from the very early moments, Annie and Tommy were saying this isn't that case that you are used to where someone wanders off. She can't wander off. Mm-hmm. My mom, she was in tremendous pain. Yeah. Her back was very bad. She was trying to, on a good day, she could walk down to the mailbox and get the mail, but most days not. So there was no wander off.
Yeah, so that makes sense that she wouldn't have wandered off very far. But I mean, when people say she could walk 50 yards and then they put a hard line like, oh, that's it. Well, that's just not reality. I mean, she might have been able to, if she pushed herself, to walk further, but she would have been found right there in the neighborhood. The mailbox, I would imagine, is just right down here. I guess if we go to street view, we could see that. Not sure what side. Oh, there it is. It looks like it's right over here. There it is. That's her mailbox right there. So, you know, that means she probably, in that case, went out the front door and around. I guess she could have went through the garage door and go down to get her mail right there.
And the doors were propped open.
Yeah.
And there was blood on the front doorstep. And the Ring camera had been yanked off.
Yeah.
And so we were saying, this is...
Yeah. Do something.
This is not okay.
Yeah.
This isn't... Something is very wrong here.
Yeah. Did you guys talk about what possibly could have happened? Like, what could have happened? What went down? Did you...
I think my brother... I mean, my siblings are so amazing. My brother, you know, he spent his career in the military and worked in intelligence and is a fighter pilot and is brilliant. And he saw very clearly right away what this was.
Yeah.
And even on the phone, when I called him, he knew.
He knew.
And he said, I think she's been kidnapped for ransom. And I said,
Yeah.
what? Yeah. Well, why? What? And then, I mean, it sounds so like, how dumb could I be? But I didn't want to believe it.
And I'm just watching this for the first time with you guys, so I haven't taken the time to go watch it. I'm just watching it again. So I'm wondering now if they're going to discuss those ransom notes that they got.
So, do you think because of me? And I said, I'm sorry, sweetie, but yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. The case makes sense if you believe that the person went into the home to abduct Nancy Guthrie from her home, and that's why they chose that home, is because Nancy Guthrie is the mother of a prominent individual, Savannah Guthrie, who we're listening to right now, who is wealthy and can afford to pay some sort of a ransom. And I guess, you know, propping the back door open is interesting. You know, I don't know how that fits in. I think it might have been like that to be able to get out as quick as possible.
But I knew that.
You did.
I hope not. I mean, we still don't know. Mm-hmm. Honestly, we don't know anything.
No.
We don't know anything. So, I don't know that it's because she's my mom and somebody thought, oh, that girl, that lady has money, we can make a quick buck. I mean, that would make sense, but we don't know. But yeah, that's probably, which is too much to bear. To think that I brought this to her bedside, that it's because of me. And I just say, I'm so sorry, Mommy. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I mean, she doesn't have anything to apologize for. You know, it's weird how sometimes in these cases people blame the victims all the time. Oh, why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do that? Instead of focusing in on the fact that there are barbarians out there that do these kinds of things. Those are the bad people. You know, oh, they didn't drive her with two over to play mahjong that night. They made her take an Uber. This and this and that. You know, there's just so many different things that people complain about. Like in the Delphi case, people say that, hey, how come the grandmother, why'd they let them walk out on the bridge instead of just focusing in on why can't they go walking there why do we have to realize that there are nut jobs out there? I mean, that is ridiculous. People should focus in on the bad guys.
I'm sorry to my sister and my brother and my kids and my nephew.
Yeah, she has absolutely nothing to apologize for. There's no reason that you can't go out and make as much money as possible in life. And the fact that somebody would kidnap somebody to try to get you to pay has nothing, you have no fault whatsoever in that.
And Tommy, my brother-in-law, I'm like so sorry. I'm so sorry. If it is me, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. We want to thank all of you for the prayers for our beloved mom.
In the initial days, you and your sister and brother sat together. In all the despair, you sat and managed to think of words to say. How were you able to do that in that moment?
Well, my siblings are amazing. And we are a unit. And I talked about how brilliant my brother is, but my sister is equally brilliant and also has special powers of intuition and faith and language and depth and heart. And I feel like we came together with all these beautiful gifts that came from our mom and dad and from God. And somehow together we did our best to come up with the words to say. And I haven't posted one thing or said one thing that the three of us haven't decided together. It is surreal. It's, how is it possible that we are having to make a video speaking to a kidnapper who took an 84-year-old woman in the dead of night in her pajamas with no shoes, without her medicine, this little person, and to beg for mercy.
In the days that followed, multiple notes demanding payment were sent to various media outlets.
It looks like they're about to talk about that. I guess I hadn't really thought about that. I didn't realize that she was barefoot leaving the house, but they must realize that her slippers and shoes are all accounted for.
The ransom notes or ransom requests came. Did you believe those to be real?
There are a lot of different notes, I think, that came. And I think most of them, it's my understanding, are not real. And
Most?
I didn't see them. But, you know, a person that would send a fake ransom note really has to look deeply at themselves.
Yeah.
To a family in pain. But I believe the two notes that we received, that we responded to, I tend to believe those are real.
Really?
Yeah, so that's interesting right there. That's something I've been saying, that it seems like they believe that the first two notes that were sent were real. And then that starts making everything make more sense as well as a kidnapping for ransom that went wrong. And then they tried to maybe get a ransom without being able to prove that she was alive, and then weren't able to do so. And that's why we get the message that Savannah and the others put out, that one video where she made, where she literally said that we understand now. Basically what she was saying was, we understand now that our mother is not alive. We need our mother back with us so that we can celebrate her life and for us to have peace, and we're willing to pay you money to let us know where she is. And that's when I thought, okay, they really believe those two ransom notes, and she believes them because there must be stuff in there that makes her believe that. And the FBI believed that, and they must have looked up the timing of when things were said in the media, and these people said things in the message before those things made it out to the media.
Mm-hmm.
When the Ring camera video surfaced and you could see who that person was, just tell me what you thought when you saw those images of the person who took your mother.
I mean, it's just absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
It's just totally terrifying. And I can't.
One thing I do want to say is I always neglect to mention this, but in this video here, the person comes from the left of screen. See how their foot is over to their left and they're turning into here. All right, so they actually do come from sort of like if they were over by the garage and then came around. Yeah. You know, it kind of makes you wonder about trying to retime things a little bit on here, but you really can't do that because let's say he just got done from propping open the back door. But see, we have the 212 motion capture, and then we have the 147 front doorbell camera being disconnected, which is happening right around this time frame right here. So I don't think he's entered the house yet. He's just preparing to be able to pull a car up right there. And then at 212 goes into the back. And then I think he may have just propped the door open so that if somebody came by, he could run straight out that back door without fiddling with it and jump over a fence and get out of there.
Can't imagine that is who she saw standing over her bed.
Yeah.
I can't. It's too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that.
And I'm glad and grateful to the investigators and the technology companies that were able to find that video. To, I hope, at least with people of good heart and compassion, stop the irresponsible and cruel speculation that had started to swirl.
Let's talk about that for a minute.
I'm glad that people saw
Yeah.
what came to our door.
Yeah. When you talk about the cruel speculation, the whispers, the innuendo that it was somebody in your family, how did you weather that?
It's unbearable.
Yeah.
And it piles pain upon pain. There are no words. There are no words. I don't understand. I'll never understand. And no one took better care of my mom than my sister and brother-in-law. And no one protected my mom more than my brother. And we love her, and she is our shining light. She's our matriarch. She's all we have.
Savannah and her family stayed together in Arizona for weeks as the media coverage grew more intense.
We had to move houses many times because people came, and not everyone is respectful, unfortunately. You know? And there was a night we had to leave in the dark in the desert, holding hands, me and my sister and brother and I, get into a car waiting for us because the people outside were closing in. So we found a place that was safe, and then we couldn't really leave too much. So,
I think that's the part I hate the most about the online, the sleuths out there, whatever you want to call them, that would go actually follow family members around and stake them out at their house. I mean, what's the point of that? What do you get out of that? I mean, it's the craziest thing in the world. I just don't get it. Now, if you want to go walk around and film different places and areas where the suspect may have been, etc., go ahead. But I just think it's crazy. The people, it's like they're looking for content. Ooh, let's go follow Savannah Guthrie around. It's crazy.
so like those days are a blur.
Yeah.
Crying and praying.
How did your family feel about the way the investigation was conducted?
Well, it's still going.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
people have worked tirelessly.
I wonder what she thinks about Nanos.
Tirelessly. And we see that.
Mm-hmm.
But we need answers. We cannot be at peace without knowing.
Exactly.
And someone can do the right thing. And it is never too late to do the right thing. And our hearts are focused on that.
Mm-hmm.
I think where Savannah ended that, it's not too late to do the right thing, is really, I think, the intent from the beginning.
All right, so I think we're going to go over to part 2 now. All right, here
You
it
speak
is.
about your mom always in the present tense.
Yeah. I mean, she is present tense to me.
Do you feel her, or have you heard her any moments?
Yeah, a little bit.
Tell me about your mommy. Just tell me about her.
My mom she's incredible. She's resolute and strong. Quiet strength, quiet faith, but hard fought. She's funny and a little mischievous, I would say, in her humor. She's a noble creature. She does what's right. She walks in faith, but not a fake, pious, put on faith, but like a grounded, earthy, she fought for it faith.
When you posted Please Pray in the beginning, the ocean of love and prayers, did you feel that? Did you sense what was happening?
I do feel prayers, I do. I believe that. I think she would have been just amazed. Just truly amazed.
One of the images that stayed with me through all of this was you and Annie and Tommaso walking up and looking at the flowers and at the notes. As I saw that, I thought, I wonder if Savannah's going inside, and what that must have felt like for you to go inside of your mom's, your childhood home, your mom's house.
Yeah, I mean, this is the house that we grew up in. It's really the only house I've ever known and remember. So we moved there when I was about 4, I think.
Oh, it's a backyard. Cool.
It's the house where I came home on a Friday night at 16, and my mom and sister were on the couch praying and told me that my father had died. It's the house where all of our memories are, good and bad. So it's hallowed ground. My mom loved and treasured that house. In good years and lean years, they were able to hold on to that house. That's my mom's safe haven. It's really hard to see that violated and the terror. terror that she must have felt is unbearable. It's unbearable.
Tell me, while you were spending all this time in Tucson, your kids were home, what do they know?
Well, it's so hard with kids because, you know, you want to protect them. Vale would write me all the time, Mama, any leads?
Any leads?
Do you hear anything? You know, any hope? And I think that, you know, we tried to talk to them and try to give them a little more certainty than we have. To let them grieve. And for my little nephew Olmo too, you know, there's just a way in which this is even so much harder on Annie and Tommy and Olmo because they're there.
They're there, yeah.
And they were there every day for my mom. They made it possible for her to stay in the house we grew up in that she loved so much. I think she always stayed in that house because I think she still felt my father there. All our memories. You know, let her have her space. And there's just a way in which this is just even more excruciating for them and all that they've been through.
I know it was a hard decision for you, and I know you told me about this, was coming back here, leaving Arizona to come back to New York. Why was that so difficult, that choice?
I looked out the window of the airplane and just thought, where are you?
Yeah.
That desert, that beautiful desert that she loves. So where are you?
Yeah.
How could I leave you? But my mom taught me a lot about grief. Our family knows grief. My father passed when I was 16 years old. He was only 49. It was a shock. And I remember my mom saying in those early days when Daddy died, like, you have to get up and decide and do. Just decide and do. And I'd read that in a book that meant a lot to her and her grief. And so I always remember that. So I'm trying to decide and do.
Decide and do.
Just get up and decide and do every day. You know, I've felt terrible grief, and I felt unfathomable love and comfort. The goodness and kindness of God is remarkable and in equal measure to my sorrow.
Wow.
She showed us how to survive the unimaginable. When she lost my dad, she was 46 years old. She had 3 kids. She had never worked outside the home. She had to get up. She had to find a job. She had to mother 2 teenagers and 1 young adult just starting making his way into the world. She took care of her mother, her brother, who had Down syndrome. She invited to come live with us. She worked part-time to make ends kind of meet. She found a way, another job, a job she turned into a full-time job, a job she turned into a career. She had a second life of purpose and meaning. She had a million friends. She stayed strong for us. She was resolute. She was real. She grieved. I remember moments in my childhood and those days after my dad died. She was so strong. But some mornings, before dawn, when she thought we were still sleeping, I would hear her crying at my door. To not be alone in her grief. So she taught me to be strong, but she taught me to be true. My faith is strong.
Now, I wish they had asked earlier, like, how was the door propped open? What was the item used?
And resolute. But I, early on, felt that I heard, for one of the very few times in my life, I did hear God speak to me. As I said to myself, I can handle anything, God. I can handle anything. I just can't handle not knowing. We can't handle not knowing.
Yeah.
I have to know.
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly what I say. I've been saying this for years on my channel, that when you have a missing person case, it's basically agony for the rest of your life. Now, if you find a body, it's actually more of a comfort, believe it or not, to find the body. Now you have an answer and you can say goodbye and bury the person. But when they're missing, you just don't have any answers. So you're stuck in limbo in a really bad place for the rest of your life, basically. And I've seen it in many of the cases that we've covered. You see newspaper articles over the years from the family members, and they're still just in this state of grief and mourning. I don't know, it's hard to even really explain, but it just goes on and on and on. And a lot of times people end up, family members die never knowing the answer to what happened to their loved ones. And I hope that's not what happens here. I'm actually hopeful that law enforcement's really onto something and we're just not aware of it.
And I heard a voice. And it said, you do know where she is. She's with me. She's with me. So whether she is on this earth still, or whether she is in heaven, I know where she is. I know who she's with. But we need to know.
I mean, I guess the fact that she's having those kind of visions and, she's with me, she must believe that her mom is not still alive anymore.
I mean...
So that was it. That was the 2 parts of the interview. I think the big takeaways are that the back door was propped open. And then what does that mean in terms of what was going on? I think it was just propped open for an easy escape. So you would prop perhaps this door open right here. You may have even entered the house right there and then prop this door open so that if somebody came by, you can just bolt out, jump over this fence, and you're out of here. And then maybe from there you can cut across. And I thought in my animation that I made a while ago that right in this area is where a car could have been parked. And that was where it was until they pulled it into here. But I guess that once you put the car there, it's go time, right? Like you're not going to be able to jump out and escape. Or you can, however, they're going to find your car. So, it's just sort of an interesting piece of information. And also the fact that she walked out barefoot. I guess I really hadn't pictured that, but that shows you sort of the rapidness, and they really didn't like let her grab anything or do anything. So, man, when they had that motion at 2:12, I wonder if they didn't even enter the home until maybe, 2:20 something, like 2:22. I mean, we don't know, right? I mean, you got that motion back there. I guess it would have kept recording other motions if it kept going, but we know it if they kept moving around, I mean. So at 2:12, that's when I believe they entered the home around that time and then left the home somewhere around 2:28. It could be, though, that, if she was more than 10 feet away, let's say she was 15 or 20 feet away, it's likely that her pacemaker wouldn't be connected anymore. And she could have been in the house sort of near the door and be way over the 10 feet. And so maybe she was in that area for a longer period of time. And then we know from Ashley Banfield's reporting that the blood droplets start on the inside of that door and then continue outside of the door and then make it to the driveway. So it's certain that she was removed from the house using the front door. So maybe in the comments section, let me know why you think that maybe the back door was propped open. All right? So a very sort of heart-wrenching interview there. You really can feel bad for Savannah and her entire family. And, again, like when you're out there and you're a YouTuber just for clicks and views and whatnot, I mean, think about what you're doing when you're traveling around, following the family members around, especially Savannah. What would Savannah have to do with anything? She's just there. Why are you filming her? It's almost like you're a gossip channel at that point. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for watching. That was my reaction, my take on watching or listening to both of the interviews, I guess segments of the same interview, part 1 and part 2 on NBC's Today's Show. And let me know in the comments what you guys think. All right, so thank you very much for watching. And as I always say, until next time, be safe out there. Oh, and by the way, we'll probably be discussing this later this evening as well on my live stream. So again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you later.